everyone, my name is Alex Gosse. I am the owner of Magically Resin, and I'm working in collaboration this year with Craft Resin to bring you new fun ideas for how to use your craft resin and for tips and tricks on how to get the best out of your product. I decided I wanted to make an Easter inspired dish, and I had these aquarium rocks that I felt like would be so perfect because they already were so festive and so Eastery. So I'm going to show you how I embedded these aquarium rocks in this piece with some clever use of alcohol ink. I make a wide variety of my own alcohol inks by mixing them with mica. I will have all of the things that I use during this tutorial in the description below. And I would be happy to try something new if y'all have an idea you want me to try, or if you have a color or something you want me to try. Please be sure and add it in the comments. And like and subscribe if you like what we're doing, and that will really help me get off the ground and get this going. Also, if you make something that was inspired by one of my tutorials, I would love it if you would reach out to me on Instagram or anywhere. I'm Magically Resin everywhere. And I would be thrilled to see what you're working on and what I inspired you to do. And Craft Resin absolutely loves their artists. So feel free to tag Craft Resin on anything that you do when you're using their products. So what I did here was I had these very brightly Easter egg color aquarium rocks, and I just put them in a cup and I mixed them with my mica hull, is what I call it when I mix mica with alcohol to make a mica to make an alcohol ink. I did this a day in advance so the rocks would have plenty of time to dry, but alcohol does dry pretty quickly, which is why I do this the way that I do. I also like to spray anything that I add mica hull to. I like to spray it with some hairspray so that all of it doesn't leach out into your resin, so that it basically stays put on the rocks. And I absolutely love how they turned out. They're just so cute. So you can still see the colors. They're turquoise and purple and all these great Easter colors, but they have this really pretty purple gold sheen that I think is just amazing. And it's also what I'm using for the pour, so it's very cohesive. So what I wanted in this pour was I wanted most of the rocks to be down on the edge, and I wanted there to be a darker color down in the edge, the purple gold. And then I wanted a very white, marbly, not iridescent, transparent feel, where it was very alabaster feeling with the part that I pour in for the second part of the resin. I tell you, some days words are harder than others. Thanks for hanging in there with me though. So you want to be careful when doing a technique like this that you don't add too much alcohol to anything that you're doing. It doesn't matter. The mica isn't going to be problematic, but adding too much alcohol can keep your resin from curing. It can make it cure slowly. You could have weird pockets that don't cure. There's a lot of reasons that putting alcohol directly in a mold can be really tricky. So I always like to make sure if I'm doing something like this, either I don't use very much alcohol ink, or I make sure and let it sit after I get everything placed in it. I let it sit for a day because the alcohol will evaporate by then, and then you can add your resin without any concerns. Now, these rocks are really large, so that's why I'm adding this the way that I am instead of how I normally would, where I would put the resin in first. So these rocks are big, and I wasn't exactly sure how this would work, but I really wanted to use them, and I didn't care that they were big. They were such wonderful Easter feeling that I was just gonna make it work. So I happen to have another product out that I used for a pour earlier that I thought would be fun to add in. So I wanted to make sure that this was plenty dry so that they wouldn't blend together too much, because this was going to be another mica hull. So you didn't see me do it, but I put a heat gun on this to make sure that the first layer of color was really dry. That's me showing you the next mica hull. And it is just such a fun Eastery color. I had such a blast making this. And you'll see in a minute like that, what a wonderful pop of color that adds. So you don't see me doing it, but very often I will hit these with a heat gun now and again because I'm editing this, so I'm showing you the parts that are super relevant and cutting out things that aren't. So what I'm doing in the cup is I want to make this be the marble technique that created that gorgeous white that you saw on the bottom when I first showed it at the beginning of the video. So this is mica hull color that I made. I will add in the description the information for what I used in that, and I could do a tutorial on how I do that if y'all are interested in that. Plus white pinata alcohol ink and a gold alcohol ink that I make myself, but gold pinata works perfectly well too. And you just want to mix it in ever so slightly because you want it to have, unless you want it all incorporated, I want there to be striations. I want it to be very marbly. And then I really do like to pour this type of thing in little bitty circles because I love how that creates a very geode looking, like a slice of geode effect. And in my mind, that's what I wanted the bottom of this to look like, was those agate slices, how they look. And right there you can see it pretty much looks exactly like that, and I really love it. So I also want to make sure that it goes down into the rocks, so I want to do this without losing too much of the agate slice feel. So I'm going to need to squish the sides because there's definitely some air because of the rocks, because of the way I did this with the really large rocks. If I'd put the resin in first, I wouldn't be so concerned about it. So I saw here that I had way more resin than I needed, and I loved this resin. So as a bonus, I poured myself a little wine stopper that is so gorgeous that one of my girlfriends is going to get a really cool wine stopper, and she'll probably cry because it's just so pretty. It looks like a large agate slice layered on top of layer of a wine stopper, and it's very, very pink and feminine, and I've never made anything like this, and I absolutely love the wine stopper. That'll be on my social media if you're interested in checking it out. I post most often on Instagram under Magically Resin. So I realized at this point that there actually was still some wet alcohol ink coming up from the sides, so I was not able to keep the agate slice feel that I wanted to, which is a shame. But now I feel very confident of how to make that, and if I hadn't had all this other stuff going on, I could have just done a straight pour with that, and that would have been gorgeous. And I'll probably do that next because I really, really am in love with this piece and how the wine stopper turned out. So I still wanted to keep a separation in the colors, and I wanted it to be the purple be its own thing and the white being its own kind of pinky white thing. So I was really careful how much heat I put on it, but it was also really important to make sure that there weren't any alcohol pockets and that there weren't any air pockets. So this is, kind of doing the best I can, but I'm thrilled with how it turned out. Some of the rocks started to come to the top too, which I was so surprised about because they were heavier, but whatever. So at this point, the resin is thick enough that you can pull color through it and really create some pretty effects. And I really took advantage of the marbleization that was happening, and that just turned out amazing. I love it. So I use a blunt instrument, which turns out that it's a Craft Resin stir stick, is perfect for demolding with just a little spray of alcohol. And you never want to leave alcohol in your mold. You want to turn it upside down. Look at that marbleization. Isn't that just incredible? So wow. This is so pretty, and then you'll see when it's outside, the sheen is absolutely amazing. So I'm really tickled about this piece. And I have to say, this is one of my favorite pieces. It is far more colorful and organic than things that I normally make. And I'm just ecstatic with how the gold sheen on the edges turned out. And the rocks weren't as prominent as I thought, but the pop of color turned out to, it looks like an opal. It looks like a dish that is made of opal, and it's amazing. I know I couldn't quite catch that in the filming, but it's really, this really is one of my favorite things. And I know I say that a lot for those of you that watch my videos, but truly, this is just a thing of magic. Thank you so much for spending your precious time with me. I am having a blast sharing all these tips and tricks with you, and I would love it if you would like, comment, subscribe. All of these things will help us know which content that you like the best and what to make more of. Have a fantastic day.